Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is Raisa Kiwala, the Muslim divorce coach. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Wisdom. Today's topic is all about protecting your peace and what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like, right? So, have you ever felt like someone was draining you, triggering you, or disturbing your peace and thought that the only way to feel okay was to walk away, right? Have you ever told yourself, I just need to cut this person off? I need to protect my peace. Or, because the thing is that what I found that you don't need to protect your peace because peace doesn't come from people. Peace comes from your remembrance and connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the present moment, not from anything outside of you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that verily in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. That's in Surah Rad in verse 28, meaning that your peace isn't at the mercy of anyone's behavior. Your peace comes from your heart's connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the present moment, not from controlling or avoiding people. So it's not people-centered, your peace, it's Allah-centered. So there was actually a time when a close family member, someone that I love very deeply, triggered me to the point of explosive reactions. I'm serious. It's like this person that I really loved. And I would just be so on edge around them. Like just seeing that person walk toward me would send my nervous system into high alert. I don't know if you've ever felt this way. If you have, let me know in the comments. But, and I love this person. And not only that, I had a connection with this person because there was a blood tie. It was a tie of kinship, right? And I wanted to interact with this person with softness, with compassion, with warmth. But inside, I was really battling my ego, my pain, and the memories that were living in my mind of experiences that I had with this person. And for years, I kept on asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me maintain those ties of kinship in a beautiful way for His sake, even when it felt impossible, because my goal really was to be good to this person and have a good relationship, at least, from how I'm showing up for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, when I realized or when I learned where my feelings were actually coming from, I stopped centering everything around her or what she was doing. I stopped blaming that person. I stopped attaching my emotions to that person's behavior. And through actually, grounding myself in the present moment, connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that moment, instead of the old thoughts that were circling around in my mind about what had happened in the past and how it made me feel, that was the journey of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala healed me from the inside out. And so today, what I want to teach you is, something really, really important and essential. And what that is peace is an inside job. What that means is that nobody can give you peace or take your peace away from you. And most people misunderstand this. Most people even misunderstand protecting your peace and what that looks like. They think that peace is, going to get disrupted from something that's happening outside of them, or that it actually exists outside of them, right? They think it's dependent on who's around them, who they talk to, who they allow into their life, who they avoid, and who they cut off. And that's not peace. That is really management, managing people, managing their behavior, managing what they're doing, what they're thinking, how they're feeling. It's really a means of self-preservation or self-protection, and that comes from fear. Because true peace is not coming from the outside. It's an internal state that comes through your connection with and your remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the present moment. So let's go into what cutting people off, why that isn't actually protecting your peace, and it's just protecting your feelings or your pain, okay? Because when you believe that someone ruins your peace, you you are unknowingly, innocently handing over your emotional state to them. You're giving them the power to dictate your emotional state, which is an internal state, right? Because what's happening is that you're believing that they make you feel XYZ. And from a spiritual level, your your heart is attached to them in an unhealthy way. Your emotions become unstable, like up and down based on what they're doing or what they're not doing, right? Basically, your triggers are running the show. They're basically leading you rather than um, doing what is right or doing what is pleasing, guiding you, right? And it makes you feel really powerless. It's like you become, a victim of circumstance or of the other person. And it actually does look like a good idea to cut them off. It looks like the solution, actually, to just get your peace back, right? But what actually happens is that the pain doesn't go away. The triggers, they still stay. The story around all of this still stays. The emotions are still there. And the other thing is that what's happening is that this is the perfect opportunity that Shaitan jumps at, because he wants you to sever ties Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded you to maintain. And I want to make a point of distinction here is that we're not obligated to maintain ties with everybody, right? There's different levels. Like there is blood ties of kinship, right? Of the womb, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated us to maintain, whatever that looks like, right? And sometimes that can look like, minimal interactions, pleasant behavior, or courteous, kind, respectful, honorable behavior to the person. And again, you're not transacting with the person, you're actually transacting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this relationship. And we know that our family members are going to be a test for us, right? So there are certain situations that maybe you might have to distance yourself, because that's what you can muster at the moment, right? And we don't want to cut off the ties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated us to maintain. Unless there's like true ongoing harm or abuse, cutting ties arises from a misunderstanding, not actually clarity or truth. Because there is a common, I guess, I don't know, misconception or a common phrase that we hear a lot, that cutting toxic people off helps you maintain your peace, right? Even if it's protecting your pain, which affects your peace, and so you're protecting yourself, actually, right? And it doesn't get in the way of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I want to unpack that a little bit, because that comes up a lot. Because one is that, first of all, going back to what is the source of peace, really? Like, do you understand what the source of peace is, and what does it look like for you? Okay, and I talked about that already. Number two is, where does pain come from? Okay, there's internal pain. If you understand that nobody can make you feel any particular way, and you understand that your feelings are only ever coming from your own thinking in the present moment, from inside of you. The feelings are not coming from outside of you. That's number two. So number three is this whole recent way of looking at people as toxic, right? Describing people as toxic, labeling them as toxic. What does that even mean? People are human beings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not describe us as toxic, right? Like maybe some of the behaviors that they have are toxic or are harmful or are not nice or not kind or disrespectful, right? And here we want to really, really understand that we need to learn how to separate the person from the behavior or the problem. People are not their behaviors. Their behaviors are just indicating what is happening internally for this person. If you look at it, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he told Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, to go talk to Fir'aun, how did he do that? He said, go talk to him nicely, kindly, right? He didn't say go like cut and slash and burn and drag him out of there. No, even Firaun was not labeled as toxic when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was, you know, guiding Prophet Musa or commanding him to go and talk to Pharaoh, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already knows what was going on for Pharaoh internally, right? Um, so being able to see human beings soul to soul, one soul to another, fitra to fitra, right? Being able to separate the person from the problem, because when we can do that, we can see human beings in front of us. We can see servants of Allah, creations of Allah in front of us. And then we can approach whatever the issue or the conflict is from that neutral perspective rather than, oh, you're like this and you're like this, and labeling people like they always do this and they always do that. And like if the lens that you're looking at some like a human being that through, that lens is like toxic, you know, like just bad and negative, that's what is going to get transmitted in the conversation or the communication. And then it's just going to cause two egos doing this rather than communication. So that's number three. And this absolutely does affect our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, looking at people as toxic and cutting them off. And what I mean by that, I mean that why is this person in your life? Like, did we ever stop and like just pause and reflect? Why is this person in my life? You know, with certain relationships, we can choose to not be in relationships anymore, right? We're not obligated, such as friends or acquaintances or whatever. But the blood ties is they're in your life because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put them there for a reason and a purpose. So if we zoom back a little bit, we can see a couple of things. One is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is maybe testing you through this person, through this relationship, whether it's your spouse, whether your parent, your child, your sibling, whatever. Number one, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing you, so it's not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may be using that person to test you and want to bring you closer to Him. Because what happens when we're around people who trigger us or who make us feel, um, I don't want to say make you feel, they don't make you feel, but you feel the feelings that come up with you when you get triggered. Or like as I mentioned for myself, my nervous system was totally out of whack, totally ungrounded, in a state of like not feeling safe, in a state of just survival and looking for safety. Like I felt like I needed to just get away or get out of there or protect myself by being defensive or, you know, just putting distance between me and that person. And it could be also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating whatever this is between you and this person that you can't just cut off and cut and slash and burn and run away or cut them out, right? Because it's actually a transaction between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the feelings and the emotions that come up when you get triggered, we like to call them a love letter. You can call it a sign. You can call it a signal internally in your body. That's an alarm that is triggering you to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to uncover what is the message Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending me. You know, that He's using this situation or this relationship. He's sending me a message. What is it? What is He trying to show me, heal for me, upgrade me, elevate me? Like what? What's going on, right? So then you stop focusing on the person and you take it back between you and Allah. And so, you know, and going back to friendships and acquaintances, you can distance yourself and you don't have to choose to be in those relationships, but not with blood ties. And so understanding like our feelings or emotions, they arise from our perception, our interpretation, past memories, our expectations, our unmet needs, our inner stories that we have been believing for so long. And seeing like we actually get an opportunity to see like, is this actually true? How do I know, right? So our feelings are not coming from another person's presence or words or behavior. It's coming from our thinking about their presence or their words or their behavior. And this is why two people can actually experience the same person completely different ways. And so so your peace actually ends up becoming about your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the behaviors of others. And going back to ties of kinship being, you know, divine obligations, not whether we feel like it or not, right? It's because the other thing is to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created those blood ties. He knows why He created them. And our job is to uphold and maintain them, right? Because He chose our parents, He assigned our siblings, He selected our extended family members, right? And so this can becomes an act of worship, not just, you know, acting on our feelings, whether we feel like it or not. And it takes us back to that family member, that spouse being a test for us, right? And, you know, even though spouses are not blood ties, there is a spiritual connection between the two of you, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you get married, He puts that rahman, that mawadda in between the hearts of two people. And it can be a test, right? You're both of you are taking an oath with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in how you're going to show up with each other, right? It's an amana, you know, for the husband to take the wife, and the wife to even take the husband. It's an amana between you and Allah, and then it's between the two of you, right? So it's understanding that. And when we are tested with our spouse, of course misunderstandings are going to come up, right? And it's not our job to cut the other person off. It's our job to return inward and return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and restore our state. Because if we're getting triggered and we're not in a state of safety, we're in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or, you know, survival. We want to restore our state to being grounded and connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then from there, you can address what are the issues, you know, what is going on that needs to be addressed from that perspective. And looking at our emotions as invitations, not as like judgments or verdicts. And that knowing that our triggers that bring about these feelings are a signal from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's shift to our focus from like how can we stay grounded around difficult people, right? Or toxic people, as people call them. But really shifting the looking at how we're looking at them from they are upsetting me, they're bothering me, they're annoying me, they're frustrating me, to like, you know what, I'm feeling really frustrated right now. My thoughts are frustrating me. Um, you know, like I need to protect myself from them. To I need to reconnect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within myself. And like they are triggering me. To like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is revealing something to me and is using them to direct me back to Him. And that's the real difference between reacting from ego or responding from consciousness, you know, and that consciousness we're talking about is internal, but that level of consciousness leads us to taqwa, which is consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Starting with being aware, consciousness of my thoughts. And am I taking my thoughts as truth? Or am I checking in with myself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeing what is He guiding me to? What is He trying to reveal to me, right? And so this is how you reclaim your peace, being present in the moment, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having that level of tawakkul, that grounding in the present moment, like most of us. And from what I see in the work that I do is, and I notice it in myself too, is that we oscillate a lot between past and future, past and future. So we're never really living in the present moment. And that's the only place that life exists. And that is the only place that we have access to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, in the present moment, right? So the other part is understanding our human experience, that our feelings are always coming from our thinking in the present moment. And then being able to surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, through whatever test that He's giving you. Doesn't mean giving up, it means surrendering to the way things are and accepting them, and then seeing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guiding you to deal with that challenge, right? But you won't know that until you come back and connect with Him and yourself. So especially when we can see our triggers as divine communication, not allowing shaitan to bring us down with his whispers and encouragement, taking advantage of us when we're vulnerable. And it's, you know, when you're like in that state of peace, because when you can stand in front of the other person who, you know, you had once felt triggered, and your heart still remains solidly connected and grounded to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the present moment, because your internal state is coming from your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not from them. And there are relationships such as like parent child that you've had your whole life, right? And you've had experiences that have memories attached to them, and you see that person in a certain way and they see you in a certain way, so you are locked into this dynamic. But when you start understanding this, your level of consciousness that you're operating from rises, so you can start seeing and thinking and then behaving differently, right? More as like what is pleasing to Allah rather than acting on your feelings. And it's not easy. It's not easy. This is why it's called jihad of the nafs. This is why it's like, it's the hardest thing to do. Right? And so really, you know, understanding, what I want you to take away is that your heart is not at the mercy of anyone. Your triggers are proof that they're not proof that people are bad for you or they're toxic. It's proof that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guiding you. He's giving you signals to come back home to him and experience a state of peace, because it is your birthright, right? And it's only found in your remembrance of him. And that is what he has told us and shown us in the Quran. So uh, share with me what you're taking away, and if you want this level of support to unpack what's really affecting your peace and learning how to reconnect to yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let me know and we'll explore what's blocking you. Send me a DM of peace and I will walk you through how to come back home to your inner calm, which is your birthright from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.